All right, so problem 25 here. We have two housing sections, and we're basically trying to figure out, is there evidence that people are being steered into one housing section and other people are being steered into another housing section. So that's basically what we're looking at. So our parameter here, we got to do a chi-square test. It would be the distribution of whites and blacks in housing sections A and B. Okay. Now the null hypothesis here, we're really looking to see if there's an association. So we're going to say that the placement is independent. So we're going to say that race and housing section are independent. And then the alternative is that there is an association. Between race and housing section. Well, you might be asking, why am I doing a test for independence? It's because I'm looking at two variables across two different categories. So if I was looking at one variable across one or more categories, then I would be doing a test of homogeneity. But in this case, since we're doing two variables across two different categories, then we're going to do a test for independence. Okay. Now our assumptions are that this is counted data, and I do not believe that this is random. So we're going to say that the rented apartments are representative of all apartments in the complex. And then we have to do the expected, right? So let's figure all those out. So for whites, there's 170 whites out of 212 people, and in section A there's 95, so that's a 76.18. And I'm just going to push second enter and change, let's see, 170 out of 212, I'm going to times that by 117, and in section B there's 93.82, and then for blacks in section A, there's 42 blacks out of 212 people, times the 95 section A apartments, there's 18.82, and then we're going to do 42 out of 212 times 117 to get section B, and that's 23.18. So we're good. We got all of our expected values. So all our ECFs are at least 5. Okay. Name the test. It's a chi-square test for independence. And then the obtain P part. So chi-squared is observed. So I'm doing section A white minus expected, quantity squared over expected, plus all the way to the section B black, 34 minus 23.18, quantity squared over 23.18. Okay, so we got our work shown. We'll let's go to the calculator. So matrix A, I already got something in there, so let's go in there again. We're going to edit. So we are 2 rows by 2 columns. So we have 87 and 83, that's for white, and for black we have 8 and 34. Got it. Stat test, chi-squared test, and let's draw that up. So that's what that looks like. So what do we got there? Okay, so 14.06 and a p-value of 0.0004. So that's 14.06, and then our chi-squared, this is chi-squared equals 14.06, p is 0.0004. So obviously we reject h sub o at the 0.05 level. And there is, obviously, let's just write this and take out another piece of paper. Let's go back up to the top because we rejected the null, and let's look at what happened. So there is strong evidence of an association between race and housing section. So let's see what happened. In section A, there's definitely more whites than expected and less blacks than expected. And in section B, there's less whites than expected and more blacks than expected. So that's just basically how we write up. In section A, there are less whites and more black than expected. And in section B, there are more. I wrote that backwards. Yeah, I wrote that backwards. In section A, there's more whites and less blacks than expected. In section B, there are less whites, because we'd expect that many, and there's actually that many, and more blacks than expected. So, what does that mean? Does it mean that people are being steered there? We don't know. All we know is that that's what the distribution shows us. So we don't know if there's any racial profiling going on. This would allow us to go and investigate that. Do not put on your paper that there is evidence that people are being steered into one housing project or another, because you don't know that. All you know is the distribution is not as expected. So we would have to investigate this further.